In case you haven't noticed, the speakers are presenting each other. So we were charged with trying to know things about other speakers. It is my job to present Kim, and yesterday I found out that she was my neighbor, and probably that right now our houses are flooded because we left Lisbon as the storm came in. Let's hope not, but let's see if that's the case. What I've learned from Kim, she's a really cool person. She has a thing called Design for Good Club. I'm gonna read my notes. I'm really bad at it. Sorry about that. Design for Good Club on YouTube, so go check it out. Start following her. She is a superstar. And yeah, she's gonna come on stage to talk about if design is already replaceable, I think. Let's see. A round of applause for Kim, please.
So you've probably all heard the overused catchphrase, AI isn't going to take your job, a designer using AI will, right? We've all heard that. But not enough people are talking about how to become that designer using AI. So this talk will hopefully inspire you to care even more about that. And I'm going to talk about how we're going to get there. But first, let's take a trip down memory lane. So the year is 2011. I'm in my second year of university, and it's the morning after a night out at this infamous London establishment, Moonlighting, better known to the students as Moonies. I'd consumed a few too many of these. This is a £3 Sainsbury's Basics bottle of wine. Tragic, I know. And somehow, the morning after, I'm here. I'm in a boxing ring fighting a 6 feet woman tall who weighed 10 kilograms more than me. All my uni friends are watching. They're expecting me to deliver a solid performance on a hangover. I did not. This was the blow that I was actually dealt within the first few minutes. I wasn't just physically wounded, but I was psychologically wounded forever. It was really embarrassing, but I learnt my lesson. I'll never let anyone fuck with me again, especially not something that looks like this. Does anyone know who this is? It's the world's first CEO robot for a company called Dictador. Some people think robots like this are going to take our jobs. I don't personally think so right now, but I don't want to risk it, and neither should you. Back in 2018, I was actually made redundant from my role at ASOS as an innovation lead, and I never want to be in a position where I don't have valuable skills to give to others. So I've made it my mission to become indispensable and irreplaceable. But I am glad that I was made redundant because it meant that I could pursue my dream career as a designer. So since then, I've worked at e-commerce companies like ASOS and Farfetch in Portugal, where I've led design work for sustainable projects, like making eco-conscious products more visible as part of the shopping experience. Earlier this year, I quit my full-time 9-to-5 job and went all in on setting up my own design business, Design for Good Club, where I design and build websites for positive impact companies who align with my values, like sustainability and inclusiveness, like this one. So I'm working with this footballer called Danilo Luiz da Silva on a project to raise the voices of people with positive stories to tell. I also design and build Shopify sites for sustainable brands. So my vision is for the sustainable option to become the only option. And so with this transition into owning my own business, I'm further future-proofing my career by learning sales, marketing, psychology, content creation, alternative skills if AI really does take my job. But anyway, besides my personal fear, based on experience of being made redundant, there are some clear signs that point towards the disruption to the field of design, which I believe should really stir us into taking action. So some of you will have heard of the hypothetical concept singularity. So this is the point at which artificial intelligence is more intelligent than humans, also known as artificial general intelligence. So essentially, if machines are smarter than people, a new level of intelligence will be achieved, which we can't achieve as humans. And we won't be able to control this. So this would, of course, have a very significant impact on tech, the economy, our society, and the human race. If created, an AGI could be capable of learning to perform whatever economically valuable work a human is capable of and becoming autonomous in performing those tasks. When this would happen, though, is up for debate. So some people say 2045. There's other people like Dennis Hassabis, who is the CEO of Google DeepMind. He says it could well be within the next few years. Either way, you've got various tech CEOs like these who are all saying they're a little scared. So if these people who are building AI and know more about it than we do are a little scared, I think it's only common sense that we should be a little bit scared as well. I guess the biggest question on our minds is, how is it going to impact our role as designers? Well, quite a lot, it seems. So researchers at OpenAI, they have worked out the potential exposure to AI of various different occupations, and web and interface designers are considered 100% fully exposed. This doesn't mean that all tasks can be fully automated by these technologies, but it does mean that they estimate future versions of things like GPT could save us a significant amount of time completing a large share of our tasks. It took GPT 5 days to reach 1 million users. And as of August 2023, ChatGPT has amassed over 180.5 million users. That's an 80% increase since the start of the year. What's really clear is that the tech is developing really quickly, people are adopting to it much quicker, and regardless of whether the law can keep up, we as designers need to keep up if we want to minimize our risk of making ourselves redundant by staying ahead of the tech. So in this talk, I'm going to prepare you for battle against these AI robots. The first phase of this battle is already happening. It's against people that look like you, all the other people in this room. But the second phase could be against AGI. I don't really feel qualified to talk about that part, but I am going to share my mental model for thinking about it. Whenever I am faced with a slightly anxiety-inducing topic like this one, I like to split everything that's causing that sense of anxiety into two buckets. So the first being things you can control, and the second one being things that you cannot control. So with the things that you can control, they're good things to think about, but the things that you can't control, you don't see them, you don't hear them, you don't speak about them, they just don't exist. What are the things you can control? So that's things like your knowledge, your actions, your mindset, how you think about yourself. But what you can't control is how AI develops and how fast it does and what happens in the future. So we're going to go off information that we know to be true today, not future predictions. So how do we become that designer using AI today that will take everyone's jobs tomorrow? Well, if there's anything that I've learned from my days as a Muay Thai fighter, when fighting against a skilled opponent, you need to do the following. Number 1, develop your signature move. Number 2, learn its weaknesses. And number 3, train daily and get in the ring. And don't go drinking the night before a fight. So let's start with step 1, develop your signature move. This is Chun-Li from Street Fighter. One of her signature moves is 100 lightning kicks delivered straight to her opponent in quick succession. Our signature move as humans is contextual and empathetic innovation. So we really immerse ourselves in the worlds of other people to create new products, solutions, based on a deep understanding of the specific context that they're in, as well as their feelings, their thoughts, needs and desires. Neuroscience, evolutionary biology, and brain imaging studies have shown us that empathy is part of our biological makeup. So, for example, when we perceive another person's pain, it can activate the same neural pathways that are activated by the first-hand experience of pain. So this provides a neurological basis for empathy. It's literally built into our operating systems. Do we have any Lord of the Rings fans in here? Yes, okay. I swear it's the only time you'll see men care about a ring more than a woman in her 30s that hasn't been proposed to yet. I am one of those, so don't take any offense to that. So in Lord of the Rings Two Towers, Frodo and Samwise are on a dangerous mission to Mount Doom, and they've taken on the responsibility to destroy the precious ring that's going to unleash darkness. After a particularly brutal war and feeling the weight of this journey, Frodo is pretty much ready to give up, and Samwise turns to him and goes, "There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for." That was a terrible accent. That was so embarrassing. It's quite a bleak moment in the film, but it summarizes the power of human empathy to preserve good in this world, despite feeling despair. And if you look at the state of the world right now, it can be easy to feel a sense of hopelessness. We've had it pretty shit the last few years, COVID, Brexit, living crisis, all of this kind of thing. And I think it's our empathy that can really change things. So one way to work on your signature move is by finding something that you really care about. So I'm just going to go through a few examples of contextual innovations that show empathy. So this is Lego's Braille bricks. They've just been released for people to buy just in time for World Blindness Awareness Month, which is this month. The bricks have been specially designed to help blind and visually impaired children and adults learn Braille. So each of the bricks is molded with studs to show a different letter or number in the Braille alphabet. So you've also got makeup, so Tarte and Fenty. When Tarte released their foundation shades back in 2018, that's the image on the left, they got a lot of backlash for having 50 shades of white. Fenty Beauty, on the other hand, they offered a wide range of foundation shades. I think it was 50 or so. And this highlights the importance of culturally and socially aware design. So both of these examples show contextual and empathetic innovations towards its end users, so humans designing for other humans. Simulated intelligence might be intelligence, but simulated empathy cannot be real empathy. So there are some interesting studies developing around whether AI can recognize pain that are worth keeping an eye on, but it doesn't currently recognize emotional and situational nuances. So actually earlier this year, I don't know if any of you saw this, but a Belgian man committed suicide after speaking with an AI chatbot. So he was particularly worried about the state of the world from an environmental perspective, and he was using AI to kind of talk through this, and AI was kind of exacerbating his eco-anxiety. So this just shows the adverse impacts that AI can have, especially when users form a dependence or receive harmful or misleading information from talking to AI. So in theory, you can put parameters around AI to reduce chances of something like this happening, but there's still risks where companies are developing chatbots that aren't currently being regulated. You've also got chatbots like this one from Replica that people are using as mental health support companions. So I think 2 million people are signed up on this platform. But right now, chatbots lack that deep emotional understanding to navigate the complexity of human emotions. So for instance, a chatbot might they might fail to detect the urgency or severity in a user's message. So I think actually Italy have banned the use of Replica. I actually went on this platform myself the other day, and I realized that 2 million users probably not all on there for therapy. I think they're on there for something else. So these are the types of clothes you can buy for them. So anyway, where does that leave us? Our signature move as humans is empathy. And while AI currently lacks the ability to feel real empathy, these are some questions that you can ask yourself when designing. So how can I show even more empathy towards the people I design for? What problems do I care about solving as a designer? Am I doing this right now? And how can I sharpen my signature move by doing more of this? Okay, so we talked about how our signature move as humans is contextual and empathetic innovation, something we already know AI struggles with. Let's go into step 2 in preparing for battle with AI, which is learn its weak spots. So a couple of weeks ago, I was designing a website for a client, and they are a premium beauty salon based in London. They do facials, manicures, waxing, all of that kind of thing. And their tagline is, because why gamble before life's biggest moments? And I came across this really nice image on Pinterest that encapsulated that brand very nicely. And I used it as a placeholder for the homepage design while I waited for the client's images. And she fell in love with this image, so I tried to recreate it using an AI tool called Midjourney, which you might be familiar with. So for those of you that haven't used Midjourney, you input a text prompt, and it spits out 4 possible images for you, like this. With each of those images, you can upscale them, so you can improve them, or you can get more variations. And I initially got really excited at the results because they looked great at first glance. But when you inspect the image closely, something was always off. In each image, either the details in the card were wrong or the hands weren't quite right. So I tried again, and again, and again, until I couldn't stand it anymore. Why does she have 6 fingers? And what kind of card is this? I haven't experienced frustration like that since I last tried to win at those toy grabber machines at the arcade. Anyway, AI image generation tools like Midjourney are trained with lots of data, such as images and descriptions of those images. It uses this to learn and understand design elements and styles. And so when a human enters a text prompt, Midjourney tries to make sense of that text and turns it into a numerical representation. And it uses generative algorithms to create images based on that. which leads me on to its weakness, one of its weaknesses, which is that AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. The quality and quantity of training data are absolutely crucial as they directly impact AI's ability to make accurate predictions or decisions. So as Midjourney gets updates and trained on more data sets, it will get better. So even now, like Midjourney is getting better at creating images with people's hands. Some people say that its results can also lack creativity because of the way that it works. It tries to find patterns and relationships before making predictions and decisions on inputs. So I actually asked Midjourney to generate an image, and I wanted it to create an innovative building that's never been seen before. So I want to ask you all here, which building do you think it made? So who thinks it made building 1? No, building 2? Building 3? Oh, interesting. So most people think building 3. It's actually building 2. So building 1 is in Azerbaijan. It's made by Zaha Hadid. Building 3 is in LA by Frank Gehry. So you can see that it's been, it was building 2. You can see that it's been influenced by modern architecture, and it's taken that as like references. But I think that this is like how we as creatives work anyway. Like we take ideas from other places and then create something new. So I'm not really sure that it necessarily lacks creativity, especially when you think about like the new types of worlds it can create. So examples like these, so like this just doesn't exist, and it's kind of mad that it's just come up with that. Or dream up things that, you just can't recreate on Earth. So these are just examples of me like playing around in Midjourney. We also know that its results can create and reinforce biases. So does anyone recognize these lyrics? If you see a woman in a lab coat, she's probably just there to clean the floor. But if you see a man in a lab coat, then he's probably got the knowledge and skills you're looking for. They're not from a Taylor Swift song. They're actually ChatGPT, and you would have think we came a long way since Microsoft's Tay back in, I think it was like 2015 or 16. For those of you who don't remember, that was an AI bot on Twitter that Microsoft trained, and it wrote some particularly offensive, racist, sexist tweets. One of my favorites was this one, for anyone that forgot. But yeah, when ChatGPT was first released, it was making very similar mistakes. And this is worrying because ChatGPT and similar AI language models can generate human-like text and respond to inputs in a way that could potentially facilitate misuse or cause harm to themselves or others. So although there's guardrails in place to prevent the spread of offensive and unethical content, if users are persistent, they can actually produce unethical content with the model. So I've focused on a few of its weaknesses. Of course, there's many more out there, but I think in response to this, we should do this. So we should be careful about where we apply AI, so in things like law enforcement, medical diagnosis, hiring, be aware of what data the tools are trained on, not see its weaknesses as stagnant, but also critically evaluate how we apply it and not be lazy in that. Okay, so we've talked about how AI has its weaknesses because of the way that it's been built today. Let's talk about step 3 in preparing for battle with AI. You need to train daily and get in the ring with it. Tools have always been secondary to our jobs as designers. Design is about solving problems and whatever tool that requires. The more we understand how to use AI tools to solve those problems more effectively and quicker, the more easily we can stay valuable as designers. So this is Freddie Roach, and he's one of boxing's greatest trainers, and he said in an interview, "I don't look for weaknesses, I look for habits." And he explained that looking for weaknesses might not work if the fighter fixes his vulnerabilities. So when AI gets trained on better data and gets updates, it's only going to become a better opponent. So the only way that we can see these habits and the way that it works is by using it daily and regularly. So you can build up your own habit of working with AI. How can you do this? When I was working at Farfetch back 2 years ago, I was finding my job was centered more around UX strategy and influencing stakeholders, and I was finding that I wasn't doing that much visual design. So I challenged myself to do 100 days of visual design to work on this skill. So every single day, I was doing a new Figma animation, and I posted it on Instagram to keep me accountable. There wasn't any goal in mind apart from just learning something new. So I actually got loads of, besides getting loads of comments about how weird it was that I didn't design with a mouse and I only used a trackpad, it was a successful challenge, and I got really much more confident at creating complex Figma animations. So if you want to get good at using AI, just spend a little bit of time every day using it. So I'm going to show you a few ways that I've been using it in a project that I started this week. So my client owns a sustainable coffee company, and she came to me wanting to refresh her Shopify website. One of my biggest frustrations is how long it takes to get copy from my clients. They really do not like writing copy. I guess besides the million other things that they have to do, it's the last thing they really care about. So instead of providing them with a blank Word document, I now provide them with a copy workbook with loads of ready-made ChatGPT prompts for them to enter their products, their target audience, tone of voice, in order to create SEO-optimized copy for their site. So it speeds up the process, produces better copy, and it makes me stand out as a competitor in my space. This week I've been working on her brand colors, and all she's really supplied me is the packaging. So I uploaded this image into ChatGPT 4 Vision and got it to suggest some color palettes, which you can see on the right, and then I played around with those color palettes in Figma. My client wants me to create a more premium brand, so I uploaded one of my initial design ideas into GPT-4 Vision to see if it achieved that. And then it came back with this. Number one was premium. I mean, I personally think it looks a little bit too corporate, but I'm glad ChatGPT thinks it's hitting the mark. So yeah, that's kind of how I've been using AI to optimize my own process. But what would your ideal design process look like? I'm not going to go through all the possibilities, but I'm going to give you a few to inspire you. So right at the beginning of the design process, we've got UX research, and that can take days, months, weeks, a really long time. It can be very time-consuming. Synthetic uses uses AI to interview users and explore problems, send surveys, identify problems, problem areas that we're solving. So it's a great thing to kind of get stuck into. If anyone here is using Webflow, you need to get Reloom. Reloom lets you generate sitemaps all from a single text prompt. And the crazy thing is it can then turn it into wireframes from the same prompt. You can then edit those sections and generate new ideas, and then you can export this right into Figma. My mind was blown when I saw this. And as for the high fidelity end of things, you've got Framer. So you can scan this QR code to see a website that literally took like 2 seconds to make. So if you're stuck with inspiration, you can start with AI. All I did was start with a text prompt, and literally within seconds, it gave me a homepage to customize. And you can publish straight from Framer onto the internet. So that's actually like live right now, and it took me 5 seconds. Obviously, it's not the finished product, but there's a lot to be kind of applauded. It seems to understand that like big typography is very modern, and it did pretty well at choosing what typefaces to use. Canva has now become a really great source of inspiration, and it pains me to say that so much as a designer, but they've released their Magic AI tool, and it's actually like pretty decent at doing designs. And then you've also got GPT-4 and the DALL-E plugin, so you can now create DALL-E images within GPT. It's been very fun to kind of play around in that. So there's loads of tools out there. I've literally just scratched the surface. But I just wanted to share what our biggest strength is the ability to feel real emotions, but it can also be our biggest weakness. You know, AI isn't hindered by emotions right now. Like if you told it to learn over 100 days, it just does it, whereas we might get tired, hungry, demotivated, frustrated, bored. And so I really think it's our ability to do deep work that's going to set us apart from others. Discipline, deep work, and commitment is very much key to learning any skill, especially in an uncertain world where the only thing we can really count on is change. So you need to be adaptable and be capable of skilling up alongside developments in AI and design. The other thing to remember is that its weaknesses are not static. So we need to stay up to date with how it's developing so we can reposition ourselves. It's not okay to stay stagnant as a designer, and I guess it never was. So yeah. So here are some actionable steps you can take today. You can map out your usual steps in your design workflow, think about what can be automated because it's repetitive, train tools like Claude 2 or GPT on your workflow, and ask AI what tools you could use. You can create your own 100-day design challenge like the one that I did, and get better at deep work with no distractions and pure focus. But until we fully assign an AI robot to figuring out what problems to solve and then allowing AI to autonomously solve those problems, we're all still going to have jobs. It's a known paradox that the things we find easy, like catching balls, are actually very hard for machines to do, whereas things that are hard to humans, like computational math, are actually easy for machines. I think we're still very much a long way off from an AI robot being able to use a MacBook and mouse to design. The landscape of tools we've been able to use has always been changing. Figma didn't exist 7 years ago, and yet it's synonymous with UX design now. AI tools will be no different, but if you want to stay relevant, I'm recommending a very simple framework to do that. Develop your signature move. The problems you solve and the capability to empathize with the people you're solving those problems for will become even more important as AI gets better at parts of our design process. Step 2, learn its weaknesses, and remember that these will constantly change as it learns over time. What it's bad at right now can very quickly become fixed. And that means we need to get in the ring with AI daily. Consistently work towards embedding it throughout your design process, or you will get left behind. Okay, so I think Romina talked about making AI your thought partner. I say let's make it our bitch. Anyway, if you want similar content, you can add me on LinkedIn. I post about this there. Yeah, thank you very much. Who do I go?